So, the topic today is whether women's move out of the home and into paid employment represents empowerment and liberation or another form of oppression. Now, the aim of second-wave feminists like Simone de Beauvoir was to free women from the evils and confines of domesticity and to open the doors to the jobs market. Freed from the limiting roles of housewife and mother, they thought women would find employment satisfying and fulfilling. The idea started to get traction in the 70s, and it's continued apace to the present day, with more women than ever entering fields and professions previously the preserve of men. The massive increase in female participation in the workplace is seen by feminists as being a great leap forward, a giant win for women, and a massive blow to the patriarchy. Feminists have always seen the family as an oppressive institution, restricting female freedom and restricting opportunities for development, putting them into a dependent, subordinate position to their breadwinning male partners. So for them, women moving into paid employment can only be a good thing, can only be liberating. But how does the female population at large feel about this? If working 9 to 5 is such a wonderful, liberating experience, why has there been such a large decline in female happiness? Why are so many women reporting mental health problems? Why are so many women taking antidepressants? If employment is so fulfilling, why do the new social media trends like soft life and tradwife exist? Why would ideas like this resonate so strongly with women and get so much traction? How can such trends be explained? Surely the female population should be luxuriating and rejoicing in their newfound freedoms and opportunities. Why, after demanding the right to have access to all the career opportunities available to men, are some women choosing to turn their back on the workplace and opting to be stay-at-home mothers, and many more bemoaning the fact that they don't have the opportunity to do so? If employment is liberating, why would they be doing this? Well, it's a complex question with no single answer, but perhaps we can go some way to getting an understanding of it by taking a look at Warren Farrell's The Myth of Male Power. This is a book he wrote back in 1993. Now, it might seem paradoxical to try and explain female discontent by looking at a book about men's experience, but bear with me. In The Myth of Male Power, Farrell puts forward the idea that power itself is completely misunderstood. Feminists would argue that men have power and privilege to a large part because they work and women stay at home. Feminists argue that the breadwinning role gives men leverage over their partner, creating a power imbalance within the relationship. Farrell rejects this and suggests a different way of looking at power. He argues that power is the ability to control the way that you live, the conditions of your life. And this idea is kind of mirrored in Bob Dylan's famous quote. He said that a man is a success when he gets up in the morning and spends his day doing precisely and only the things that he wants. If you look at it this way, the idea that men were or are powerful and privileged starts to look a little bit suspect. Consider a well-paid executive. You might think this man is doing very well for himself. He might be working 60, 70 hours a week. He's not spending his time doing what he wants. He isn't in control of his life. He's a slave to his career and to his firm. He'll be working extremely long hours, under stress, under pressure. He may not be able to control the work that he does or have control over the kind of work that he does. And when he gets home, can he relax? No, of course not. He's responsible for household finances. He'll have little control over the spending of the money that he earns, because in most households, women control spending decisions. And he's legally bound in a relationship, which if it fails, that is to say, if it ends in divorce, he'll lose everything, his house, his kids, and still going to be on the hook financially for child support and alimony. Being a worker for a man isn't a source of empowerment. He's a wage slave to the company and a workhorse for his wife. He's bound not just by social obligations, but by legal obligations as well to provide material resources for her benefit. Looked at this way, the life of the average male worker doesn't look so enviable. Doesn't matter what feminists might think. Being the worker and provider, the role that men traditionally played, it was never all beer and skittles. But now let's consider the experience of such a man's stay-at-home wife. Of course, a stay-at-home wife has responsibilities, but she's certainly not going to be spending 60 hours a week doing domestic chores. She has labour-saving devices to make domestic chores quick and simple to do. She has schools and nurseries looking after her children during the day. So the stay-at-home wife and mother has an enviable amount of free time to dispose of as she wishes. She's free of the pressure of provision. She doesn't have to worry about paying the mortgage or putting food on the table. That's her husband's job. She's typically in control of household spending decisions. All things taken into consideration, her lifestyle much more closely resembles Dylan's idea of success and Warren Farrell's idea of power. She has control over her own life. Control and autonomy to a far greater extent than her husband does. Once women enter the labour force, they get confronted with the reality that the idea presented of working life as being glamorous and exciting or fulfilling, that's not entirely accurate. For most people, men and women, work is neither satisfying, particularly financially rewarding, or mentally stimulating. After coming to this realization, women start to re-evaluate the lives of stay-at-home mothers. All of a sudden, being supported by a husband, having almost unlimited control of how you spend your day, being free from having to concern yourself with finances, the opportunity to pursue hobbies or study with all the free time at your disposal. It starts to look pretty good. This stops seeming to be an oppressive state of affairs. So is it surprising if women start to wonder if feminism, by encouraging them to take up paid employment, actually liberated them or shepherded them into a more restrictive, less satisfying lifestyle? Is it surprising if some of them have buyer's remorse and start wondering if they couldn't turn back the clock? But unfortunately, that might not be possible. The labour market works like all markets. If you increase the supply to the market, the price falls. The influx of women into the labour market has artificially dampened wage increases, and it's done so to the point where the lifestyle, once obtainable maybe in the 70s or 80s, obtainable by one worker in a family, now requires two. And as a consequence, the number of men who can actually afford to support a woman in the stay-at-home role has dwindled dramatically. Ironically, the life of the 1950s stay-at-home housewife, derided by feminists, characterized as oppressive and demeaning and limiting, has come to be seen by some as enviable, to the point that women now boast on social media about actually having this kind of lifestyle. So would it have been better if feminists had left well alone? Well, probably not. Some women genuinely love their careers and they get to live out their Ally McBeal or Carrie Bradshaw fantasies. Other women relish the fact that they're free and don't have to get married and depend on a man. The change has undoubtedly granted women a huge expansion in the range of lifestyle options, and I doubt that many would want that choice taken away from them. But these new opportunities have come at a cost, and now many women find that the lifestyle of the traditional wife and mother is no longer available to them.